I wonder if Visions of Atlantis' intention with titling this piece of Silent Mutiny is meant to harken back and reflect on the mood of The Deep and the Dark established as an introductory work, right? Because I consider our first two journeys into this album of the same name, and coming off of Return to Lemuria, which was such a beautiful experience, as The Deep and the Dark was, but that piece, oh my word, the second one is just so good. It changes the mood a bit, right? We have a more ominous piece, one of a more foreboding key choice and presence to introduce us, and then we get swept away in this fantasy fairy tale-like vision with Return to Lemuria, which is just so positive and hopeful and beautiful, romantic. It's just such a wonderful addition, right? But it changes the mood in fixation. But then you read the Silent Mutiny, and that sounds different. Definitely plays again to that pirate vibe, which I'm excited to see that manifest, or the possibility of it. I mean, we're going to humor this and my accuracy of suspicions together, but I'm in the midst of a delightful route right now. I'm sure many of you foresaw this coming when you regarded Visions of Atlantis as a recommended name to me in the comments section, which many of you know I frequent, as I've said previously. In particular, to highlight fresh introductions. So I love doing that with music. Music for me, or music coverage, I guess, to be technically correct, or more so, is a passion project for me on this channel. It's been a long-time aspiration to highlight it alongside other artistic languages because of how much it means to me. And a sub-goal that manifested soon after was I became quite fascinated with fresh introductions and the mutuality, right, that type of music can compel amongst different listeners, right? And I know this takes on a bit more of an unorthodox appearance for sure. I happen to be sitting here talking to a camera, listening to music, right, and just posting my thoughts. But if I can in any way manifest this, and it is a particular hope of mine, many of you approach, again, from a diversity of standpoints. Many of you I know are more informed and you've been longer standing Visions of Atlantis fans than myself, right? And you obviously advanced me. I welcome your company, as well as anybody who is in standing to where I was previous to The Deep and the Dark, where Visions of Atlantis was just a name reference, right? And I didn't have much other information to go on other than what I could find, at least online, to get a good background, which I gave you. And I'll establish it again for anybody who might be approaching this song at first. I would recommend you introduce yourself to the first couple of pieces that we humored on the album, and maybe the back catalog as well. I'm going to do that with Visions of Atlantis eventually, but maybe you'll take this journey with me, right? I love to highlight good art, and it exists readily in the music world, especially in the European metal foray, which many of you know I love that scene with good reason. Qualify in there, Visions of Atlantis. They're a perfect example. The beauty of a symphonic power and melodic metal hybrid, especially of a symphonic dominance, easily is attractive to me. I love orchestral stuff, and many groups I've highlighted in this channel happen to be of a symphonic vein, Visions of Atlantis being the newest one. Immediate attraction point. But to hear what they have to manifest on feeling, emotion, scope, with a delicacy of vocal precision and frailty on behalf of both Clementine and Michelle. I think I'm getting the pronunciations correct, but feel free to chime in down below if I'm not. I'd love to be accurate going forward. That balance, how delicate it is, the nature of the vocals, the pairing, the association mixed with such beautiful illustrations and themes, and just human emotions that connect and resonate with the listener. Look no further than Return to Lemuria. I'm still getting over it. If you cannot tell how good that piece is, at least on feeling, it easily connects. Whether it be just the storytelling, the independent focus, or just the delivery. It's just so excellent, right? I love that about music, that it delivers that enrapturing experience, and that we can take that route together, right? And maybe I'm inspiring you in terms of artists that you have not humored yet. I always speak from experience on this. I've been a metalhead for a number of years, more so a European metal fan, as I've been for the last couple of years. I've taken it independent venturing with all of you. No adjacency or connection point at all with my peers. I wish it was, because, I mean, I don't mean to sit here and boast. I try to act from more of a humble disposition, but they are missing out. Obviously, many of you would attest, I'm sure. This is what I hope for in music. Just glamour, creativity, aptitude, strength, sufficient ambiance. Europe offers that so readily, and Visions of Atlantis is the newest attribution. And again, I can't tell you enough. Thank you to every one of you that gave me that name as a recommendation. I'm quite elated. I can't wait to dig down further and deliver my ambition for you, to deliver content that you want to see, right? Bands that you request. I love to highlight types of presences like that. Visions of Atlantis is the newest one. I hope you all are quite fulfilled in hearing the perspective of somebody who is very much taking a fresh entrance, right? Maybe some of you that were taking the journey alongside with me, and I welcome you as well. We're going to have that with the Silent Mutiny Mutiny. And let's see if I'm correct in terms of my presumptions. Is this going to kind of reflect back into the established mood of a more foreboding piece, playing into more of like a pirate-like tale? I mean, we're certainly on, if you consider Return to Lemuria, we're on this, sea voyage. Certainly. I mean, that piece just transports you there. Let's entertain this and see maybe where it goes as a piece. Maybe if it takes on a darker mood or continues on that type of hopeful disposition. Right? I mean, I think it's more so the former, but let's entertain it together for ourselves. Piece is going to launch alongside the video that was released. I don't know if it was simultaneous to track, but it did come out to give us an illustration as well. And if you're not familiar with how I format coverage on the channel, that's a fresh introduction for you. I like to accommodate listener taste, so if you want to read along with the storyline of what's portrayed in the video, lyrics are directly available in the video feed. You'll see those commence as soon as the song launches. I'm loving the ride so far, though. Another great band to add into my playlist. I'm so happy. I hope you are too. Okay, I like the rhythm. Again, the intersection between... the faintness on the instrumental delivery on that section I love. There's those lighter snares, the tragic mood, but the hybrid on symphonic nature mixed with more of a power metal emphasis here. The associations are quite wonderful. And there's the vocal association when Michelle comes in. It's a good support, works beautifully, and the lingers, wow. The lingers. Man, I've acknowledged that a lot with this group. Just how their voices trail together. And how they change on key focus just in the middle of the song delivery. That's great. I knew about Clementine in Entrance because I'd seen her put in discussion in terms of many people's favorite vocal talents in Europe, but not Michelle. He's another wonderful presence to welcome. And I'm glad it's a hybrid here. It really works to the song's favor. I was going to say the song is enough on its own to lend us into that type of pirate seafaring voyage feel, but the seagulls flying through on that one shot did that too. I like the artifice of this video, by the way. It's very Feuerschwanz, another favorite of mine, German. Must be a mainstay for Napalm Records. That's who they're attached to, but I've seen this often. I love how it's portrayed. It's fun. Nice jump. I like the cutoff there. Oh man. This piece just has excellent drive. Again, I like hearing something of a power metal vibe to see that diversification with the symphonic more so being the background foundation and the influence to the momentum. No, I mean the power metal drives that certainly in central attention. And there's that independent snare to take us along. It's so great. Love that intrusion. There's a lot to find with that piece. I mean, you talk about, again, manifesting a pirate feel as we're, feeling like we're at sea. That piece has that deliberate feeling, especially in the, I think it's right after the second chorus, somewhere in the bridge area, in that instrumental ballad. quite sufficient. I've not been on too many sea voyages in my life. I've been on a couple, years ago. I mean, like, who hasn't done, especially in America, like, who hasn't gone on the Lady Washington ride? Or the Hawaiian Chieftain? I think I've been on, maybe just the Lady Washington. Well, I mean, the Hawaiian Chieftain was the same, it was at port at the same time, and other people were on that one. But, like, I've had my own journeys, right, at sea with the breeze hitting, and this video and song definitely evokes that type of memory, right? Even if, again, it's very much from a fresh lens, and is more so tied, I guess, to the myth of Atlantis, which I'm still familiarizing myself to. I know kind of in a simplicity form, but not in depth. It's a fun piece to humor, though, isn't it? The delivery on it, in terms of manifesting that type of sea voyage. It comes to life with the piece, especially on the vocal association and pairing between both Clementine and Michel. Beautiful balance. I love seeing, again, the vocal trade-off. I love the lightness of his voice. As I've said many times in the past, there's so many female singers that I've regarded in the European vein, especially specifically within the rock and metal regards, that have such dominant and attention-worthy talent that fixate your attention immediately and that ingratiate themselves as signature identities, right? Namely because of the precision of their execution and what types of unique styles they take in application of vocals. And Clementine certainly warrants, again, a fixation automatically, because her range and the frailty, as I said, it's just such a fun voice to listen to, quite engaging. But Michel's as well, the lightness, and how I can kind of hear the softness of the accent intrude delicately, but there's that weaving pattern. So when you hear him in isolation, it just sounds great, right? And it might have a bit of like a traditional metal feel on some ventures for sure. I'm not in any way trying to lessen its potency, but it's quite palatable, I think, to metal fans or someone who's just looking to hear expert metal talent, maybe from different approaches that we've not yet taken. This piece offers that. With Michel's delivery, I think it's great. But again, the balance to their pieces, and I didn't know that going in that it's more of a subordinate role. I knew about Clementine in terms of association of reference, because I'd seen her posted other places in terms of other fans being like, oh, who are your favorite artists? I've seen a couple, let's say in terms of different types of, namely Instagram postings, but I remember some being like, oh, we've got like Elise Reed of Amaranth over here, Zorna Kalk of Blackbriar over there, Melissa Bonney of Ad Infinitum over there, and maybe others as well. And Clementine has been a frequent addition, at least I've seen her pop up. It's like, she's been in many postings. I'm like, okay, this is a name I have to get to, right? And there's been others as well to associate. Simone Simons is one. The front lady of Nightwish, too. I've seen her mentioned a lot. I mean, there's so many at this point. Emmanuel Zoldan, Amber Vuverhees, Uli Berthonen, I could go on and on and on. There's too many names to highlight, right? And Clementine is just another fabulous addition to what I'm understanding in terms of vocal delivery that is just so astute and captivating, at least just even on first entrance. It's specifically that frailty, though, that's just so enchanting. But to have a favored male presence as well, but feels particularly singular, but blends so organically and naturally with Clementine to create this fun vision where it just feels, again, so united, right? And to have a song as well that takes that, it has that symphonic nature, right? Where the other pieces are a little more symphonic dominant, this takes on more of a power metal emphasis. So you have that riff structure creating the momentum that carries you through, right? That's the navigational element, whereas the symphonic helps to establish the field of the piece, right? To give you that illustration, it's still there, right? But it plays a subordinate role. The intertwining works quite well. And I love the artifice of the video, by the way. Again, I'm a big Napalm Records fan. Obviously, I've consulted a number of their artists, and many I have yet to get to. I'm quickly developing a love for their offerings. And they've played around with this type of chic before to other groups. I've said, for example, Feuerschwangs is one. Maybe there's others I'm forgetting about as well. I've seen this in appearance other places, but I really like it. And again, in terms of manifesting that seafaring voyage, you throw seagulls in, we're right in the midst. Maybe they were just birds. I don't know if they were seagulls, but I don't know. I mean, I live close to the water. I'm right on, in America, I'm right off the coast. Washington State, we got seagulls that fly everywhere. And they're a pretty sight to see, but it just immediately transports you to being at sea, right? It's a beautiful vision, another great tune. Again, this has been, like I said, I wondered how this would take the field, right, from the evolution thus far of the Deep in the Dark. If it would tap back into that more foreboding mood, right, if it would take on that hopeful key choice. This feels more like a mainstream metal song in terms of the tone they picked, with that nice trailing in terms of the conclusions on the chorus verses, right? carry on that ominous edge that drives right back into the power metal. It's a good transition and a great feed, but it's more of a mixture, I think, on even pacing, right? It's not necessarily, it kind of sits in that middle space, right? It's more so just adding on to the storytelling of the piece and the evolution of the album, again, and manifesting this type of fantasy vision. I don't see it gravitating towards either extreme so readily, and more so just sitting, again, like in a middle space, but it's quite pleasurable. Again, like anything as far as what I've witnessed Visions of Atlantis offers. I'd love to hear what your opinion is of the piece down below, and where it stands in the lineup for you thus far on the album, and your point of approach, right? Longtime fan, first introduction, maybe you're taking that journey with me, as I said. I'd love to hear about it down below if you do, in fact, wish to disclose that. More to come, for sure, Visions of Atlantis. I told you we'd be consulting a number of their works, from a couple of their more recent albums as well. We'll get to the conclusion track in a minute from the selection I've picked out, that being, at least again, this album, The Last Home. We'll wrap up with that one before we segue into the next album. I think that's called Wanderers. Yes. It's been a fun journey thus far. Again, thank you to everybody who made them a recommended name in the comment section and one of such predominant appearance. I've loved hearing everything I've heard thus far of A Silent Mutiny as well. Another fabulous addition. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.